Well, good morning, and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folari. It's a Friday. I always say that as if you didn't know it, but it's because of the TGIF part. Glad you could join us. Well, my guest this morning, Mr. Adeboye Kalejaye, he's a political analyst. He's a politician as well. You know, thank you very much for coming on.
Good morning, viewers.
Thank you very much for coming on. And our friend, not that Mr. Kalejaye isn't our friend, he is our friend, Evans Ufeli, who is a public affairs analyst and legal practitioner. Thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you. Good morning, viewers.
Indeed. Now, why I'm particularly excited about the panel today is that you're a legal practitioner, you're a politician or political analyst. Now, death sentence for hate speech, that's something that's in the works. At least it's a proposed bill by Senator Aliyu Sabi Abdullahi, APC, Niger State. So he's put this out, he's put this up. That, look, we need a bill. We need a bill to take care of hate speech. And if hate speech, just paraphrasing it and simplifying it, when it's legal, it has all the proper wherefores and thereuntos and all. But essentially what it is saying that if hate speech results in the death of a person, then the offender shall die by hanging. And then there are lesser, variations of it where could be up to, 5 years imprisonment, that kind of a thing. First of all, let me just kick off from your concept of the political angle to this, if there is any political aspect to it. Hate speech, death sentence. Your thoughts on that?
Yes, first and foremost, I must say that the proposed bill has clarifications and is segmented into what you can do and what you cannot do. Whether it's desirable or not, we'll get to that point. Why do we even need a bill about hate speech?
That's what I asked you. That's the very question I asked you. Say, what are your thoughts about
why do we
the fact
need
that it's possible now, if this proposal sails through, for hate speech to result in death for the offender?
Yes, I must say also that the hate speech penalties and as an offense in Nigeria has been in existence before the advent of this regime.
Sure.
So it's not a making of this regime.
But it wasn't a death penalty.
But it wasn't a death penalty.
Category.
So I think
it wasn't a
the
death
bill
category
is seeking some very much more stringent conditions for, to be applied when this occurs. But do we really need that bill? That's the question. And to my mind,
I guess that's the question.
To my mind, it is not desirable.
Well,
why is it not desirable is because why do people resort to hate speeches? The people resort to hate speeches for so many reasons. One of it will be that you are disgruntled, you are unsatisfied about a particular situation, or you feel very mischievous, which of course bring in the negativity part of the hate speech. So, but then what we need mostly is good governance.
Okay, I'm going to come back to you. I know there's a lot more there, and indeed, I'm going to come back to you. When Mr. Kalejaye says, Mr. Ufeli, that it's always been, hate speech has always been with us, it's not this bill, indeed, I understand that, so do all our viewers. But the fact that it wasn't a death sentence category offense in all the time hate speech as an offense has been on our books, the fact that now Senator Abdullahi of APC in Niger State is proposing that indeed attach the death penalty to it. It can only be because it's become an increased concern or problem today. And I guess it's against that. Law people generally say that the punishment should fit the crime. So what I'm looking at now is that, what are your thoughts? We've heard Mr. Kalejaye's thoughts. What are your thoughts about this particular punishment and this particular crime? Do they fit?
I think the bill is reactionary. It's reactionary in the sense that you want to push forward a bill that will bring about capital punishment. I mean, what is hate speech really? Expressions, rather. They've stated there that it has to do with the reason for the bill is purposely to curtail violence and the use of vulgar language against people in political scene, ethnic divide and all that. But when you look at it, the penalty proposed for the action is not commensurate. You see, because why do you want death sentence for hate speech? I mean, what about corruption? Have you looked into corruption? What should be the penalty for corruptive tendencies? I mean, I think this bill is rather undesirable. The bill is not because it's going to have an infraction on the fundamental rights of Nigerians, because we have freedom of expression.
If it ever becomes law,
yeah,
then it can't be an infraction if it ever becomes law.
If it survives it, because the way they are going about it is going to run contrary to the ground norm, that is the Constitution.
And nothing must contradict the Constitution.
Yes, because the Constitution says in Section 1, Subsection 3, that if any law is inconsistent with the provision of this Constitution, this Constitution shall prevail. And that other law, to the extent of its inconsistency, shall be void. So if you say you want death penalty for this kind of action, it is rather not addressing the problem of this country. It is reactionary. Let's look at corruption, of which the people who are proposing this bill, they fall in the category of those who have largely committed the offense of corruption. Okay, so let them have a bill also in line with that. That will also make.
Wait a minute, Mr. Wait, that sentence you went and brought up.
Yes, the sentence is important in this show.
No,
because why is important?
You said the people behind this bill, and it's the Senate. Yes, the Senate of the Federal Republic.
Yes,
you said the people behind this bill are largely those.
They are largely those who commit the offense of corruption. So why we do not want to oppose the bill that will criminalize hate speech and make death sentence for it. We also need a bill alongside that will also make a death sentence for corrupt tendency and corruption in the National Assembly. Okay. Until those two, because you cannot look at because we are the ones speaking, we are the ones that are dissatisfied, we are the ones that have not been able to access democracy. So we are the ones saying, and the bill is targeted at trying to quash the voice of Nigerians. The Constitution has given us that inalienable right to express ourselves. If we are not happy, we can assemble, we can make expression, we can state our minds. So when you now have a bill, you want to scuttle that freedom of expression. You want to scuttle the fundamental rights of Nigeria. The same Nigerians that you have not been able to provide good governance for. The same Nigerians that have not been able to access democracy. The same Nigerians that are living in poverty. So by the time you still have all this, there is no way, even if you bring the bill and say the penalty will be to behead the person, hate speech will still be, because the economic indices for which you are supposed to drive this process, you have not addressed it. The welfare and security of the people shall be the primary purpose of government. That's the Constitution, Section 14. Yes. So if they cannot address the welfare and security, the two principal pillars of governance, if they cannot address it, and they want to create a law that will do this and make it speech, it's a joke. It's a big, full joke.
Okay, let me come back to Mr. Kaleja. When you spoke first, you sort of wanted to explore the reasons why hate speech exists at all. And you said, okay, why do people, make hate speech? Yeah. The problem I have with that, because it's a delicate area, hate speech that results in division, whipping up a sentiment against anybody's tribe, ethnicity, religion, whatever, in order for the person to be seen, and you're actually instigating against that group of people. That's on one side. Look, for example, I just want to, for the moment, bring in this example of, it's not thought to be in good form to deny the Holocaust, for example. Yeah. You deny that the Holocaust happens and, everybody. In fact, I think it is a criminal offense. I'm not too sure about that, but certainly that's totally unacceptable. Now, there are still people who say, as you know, as you're well aware, that, look, as far as I'm concerned, the Holocaust never happened. I've not seen anybody jailed yet. So I was bringing it back to there. Say, first of all, I don't know that there's any circumstance under which you can justify hate speech. I don't know that there is any. But whether death as opposed to life imprisonment, for example, as maybe the second, second most severe offense. That is what I imagine we're going to have to debate in this bill that is proposed by Senator Abdullahi of APC.
Okay, thank you very much. I think both of us have been on the same page to say it's not really desirable. But then, if the bill is being on, we must
but
now
hate
come
speech
and
also
discuss.
is not desirable.
Hate speech is also not desirable. And if we need now to throw it down and break it down into the compartments of if it does happen. Because whether we say it's desirable or not, if the process is started and completed and is passed into law, it means it becomes binding on the more reason why we must discuss it thoroughly. Now, to say that what that bill is proposing specifically about death is to say that if hate speech results into the death of another person, such a person will be convicted and die by hanging. Well, how does a hate speech result in the death of another person? For instance, the law does not recognize juju or Buddhism or whatever. The law recognizes proofs and concretization of your evidences as to when you make a case. So if that is the case, how do you clarify my hate speech to say it's resulting to the death of somebody? You will still need to prove it to say that it was my instigation. For instance, I instigate an ethnic and a tribe against the other tribe. Are you following what I'm saying? And then you can now have a mob rouse, the mob action, people revolting, and then people are being killed because of that.
If anybody gets up on a podium, for example, and starts saying hateful things about any other group of people in Nigeria, he is recorded. If it is the press will record it.
Will record it. You have an evidence to show.
Yes.
But
so
then, what to classify?
If as a result of that presentation, people are now moved to go and be destructive in their ignorance or being ill-informed, the person who started it all
is culpable.
I would have thought so.
Yes, that's where I'm going.
But the penalty
to say that the penalty proposed for such, may be very, very too grievous.
Even if it results in the death of another person.
Let me also detonate.
Even if.
Even if. Okay. Let me also detonate further. To say that resulting that hate speech, inciting one tribe against the other person, that the content of that speech, are they facts or fallacies? Are you following me? Because what you call instigation, if I see that a person does something wrong, and I stand on the podium to say, I condemn in its totality what a station has done in terms of broadcasting certain things about one person or the other, and then that results into some other consequent actions that result into death. The question is, you will still further examine, are there facts and figures in what I have said? So, for such convictions to even be obtained, it's going to be very, very cumbersome.
I agree with you.
I agree with you.
The lawyers are going to
do a lot of battle.
The judicial system are going to have a...
If I say Ibadan people or Yoruba, some part of Yoruba people, they put tribal marks. And that tribal mark, does not conform with modernity. That is human mutilation.
That's not hate speech, I don't think. That's just your opinion.
That's my opinion.
That's just your opinion.
That's
a totally different thing.
But the fact of the case is that it is true that they put tribal marks.
Yeah, but it doesn't fall under the category of our conversation, which is hate speech.
Hate speech, for instance, you could also become an Ibadan man may say that I have described his tradition as mutilation, as an abuse of humanity. You could also rise up to say it's an hate speech against the Ibadan people, for instance.
I am
so
sure
it's going to be a lot of legal battle.
I am sure
even
that
if this goes
the judicial system, the courts, the lawyers have their work cut out for them in the event that this actually scales through and becomes law. Because what you're rightly pointing out, the same thing Mr. Ofeli has done, is that you're going to have to determine what exactly is hate speech.
Yes.
Well, this is a conversation that's been going on for a long time. And it's not new.
And the truth of the matter is that we already have extant legislation
on
that.
Indeed.
The criminal code already had captured that. I think in section 24 thereabouts, have captured the issue of making utterances for criminal defamation, for which penalties are already invoked.
In the books.
So what we need to do is to invoke this rather latent laws or these inoperative angles that we have not, we've not arrest and prosecute on those sections of the law. The penal code also have certain provisions for which criminal defamation is also, an issue. In the civil angle, too, we have defamation. So,
exactly.
So what we should do is to rejig the law. Okay, make it more appreciable. Why I say it's undesirable and unnecessary is because by the time you begin to channel this kind of operation and you want to take it through ethnic divides, like what he said just now, like people say that the Igbos like money, or the Yorubas does this, like parties, or the Hausas like this.
All of that is not hate speech.
No, it's not hate speech, but it is ethnic. And the law says that when you make any utterance that instigates any, because if you do that and it creates uprising, maybe in a circle or somewhere, there is going to be a way for which we are going to draw attention and draw certain synergy for which you want to criminalize the action. And when that is done, you create problem, then society will not be running against itself. So I think the intention really of the lawmakers is, okay, we want to curtail violence, but the primus intent of this law is to make sure that people don't criticize government. That is just what it is.
Okay, that's where you...
That's just what it is.
That's where
and they cannot stop Nigerians from criticizing government, because it's part of our fundamental right for which we have to express ourselves. And as long as government have refused to do the right thing, the people will keep saying... one of the ministers said recently that they cannot go to bed and close their eyes because of the media. I mean, these are issues we know that it hits up government. The responsibility of the press by Section 22, subsection 1 of the 1999 Constitution as amended is to hold government accountable to the people. You understand? And the people also have citizens' right to express themselves, and that is what it is.
We've had unfortunate situations in recent past. Fulani herdsmen have been in the news. In fact, in recent times, you see that the news has gotten a bit more reticent, shall we say, circumspect. Now we don't talk about Fulani herdsmen anymore. We talk about marauding herdsmen. So you've taken the Fulani out of it because of what was coming along. And then we began to get vibes that, look, you're not even sure that these are Nigerians. Oh, yes. People are being careless. People are just speaking and whipping up sentiments and hate because, cattle herdsmen and their cattle actually are destroying properties, and all of that is going on. So there's that. And then before that, I think it was it IPOB? IPOB, yes. The whole matter of hate speech came up in relation to IPOB some time back. So no doubt, though I don't know of any other, those two especially, and perhaps the more recent one with this alleged Fulani herdsman and alleged utterances. Now, people speaking about that has been found, perhaps by observers, to have gone overboard.
And promoting hate speeches.
Have gone overboard and are now actively being used to promote hate against a particular group.
Yes, you see, nobody in his right thinking senses will justify or advocate that anybody should go ahead and promote hate speech. We are a diverse nation, bonded in unity, and our diversity is our strength. There is unity in diversity. Let anybody think that Nigeria is too big, let's break into pieces, let this go into this. Nobody will benefit ultimately from a breakage or a separation of Nigeria.
Which might also be defined as a kind of hate speech. Yeah. It depends on what the definitions come up with.
So what I'm trying to say is that...
And he said that...
It's condemnable for anybody to promote hate speech. But then what we're saying
no,
is
you don't promote hate speech.
Yes.
You just do it.
You do it.
You just do it. You're not promoting it. Your utterance can be classified as hate speech.
Hate speech, because you are thinking in a very negative direction.
And a divisive way. And a separatist way.
About a nation, about a sex, about...
That they are separate from us and therefore undesirable or less desirable than we are.
Exactly. So all of those now put in place is to also say that it is not necessary to create a separate law as we speak, because the Constitution as it exists today protects, every individual, every ethnic group, everybody in terms of defamation of character, in terms of, libel, in terms of all of this. The law already
death
exists.
is too serious a penalty, is what you are saying.
It's too serious a penalty. And to
now,
say that,
it's out of place.
to also not lose the fact
not just out of proportion, it's out of place.
Out of
to
place.
also not say miss the fact that those promoting this law are seeking over protection. Seeking over protection, not for Nigerian society. It is not patriotic in its real sense. Rather, it is self-motives, and it's self-seeking.
Okay.
And of course, it's not going to be to the interest of Nigerians.
That's why
what we must do as legislators is to make good laws for the good governance of the people. Laws that says about guarantees people's livelihood, that protect people's businesses, that look at a nation as a nation that must also move away from mono economy to multi economy, and makes life more meaningful for the people.
So as you said, hate speech is condemnable. You said that.
It's condemnable.
And everybody is going to come along with that. But it is thought that this whole thing is getting out of hand. People under the freedom of speech are saying hurtful things. They might not know the effect of what they're saying. They might think that things that they say, let us admit it, people do say things in the safety of their family behind closed doors. Things that you say there, you can't come to a public square and say that, where it now becomes, it now enters into the public, and the public is consuming it, and the public are thinking about it and relating to it, and depending on who you are, it will carry the kind of weight. All of that, we'll see how it goes when people comment. But another aspect of it is this bill also calls for the setting up of an independent national commission for hate speech. What do you think about that? An independent national commission for hate speech. Okay.
I still think that commission is unnecessary. It's unnecessary because the subject for which it is addressed there's already legislation to that effect. Thought and expressions are product of the construct of the mind. And the construct of the mind is a product of the prevalent economic situation of the state or the society where the individual dwells. So rather than having that commission, how about having a commission to alleviate poverty, or a commission to reconstruct or restructure the economic well-being and welfare of the citizen? Okay. Because if the Constitution, in its wisdom, had provided in Section 14, sub 1, that it is hereby accordingly declared that sovereignty belongs to the people, through which government derive her legitimacy, that the security and welfare of the people shall be the primary purpose of governance. Security, welfare, these are the two pillars of governance. And in a nation where you have the absence of both, you cannot begin to promote a legislation, to scuttle people's expression, which is a construct of their mind, which arises from the possibilities of their welfare and security. Indeed. You understand? So if you don't have security, you don't have welfare. What do you want the people to become? They should shut down their God. They should not express themselves. They should not ask government to do the right thing. Is that what it is?
No.
So, there should be a bill to make welfare possible and security.
So effectively, what you two gentlemen, are saying is that there are other offenses that would better fit the the death penalty in our society than hate speech. Yes. So you're not against the death penalty. You're not saying that, I'm coming at this because I don't accept, I don't believe, I don't subscribe to the death penalty. That's not necessarily what you're saying.
No, but I'm saying I don't subscribe to the death penalty because it's not commensurate to the action.
I'm saying generally. I'm not saying in this particular case. Yeah. There are, conscientious objectors to the death penalty as a notion. Some people say no. That's not what you are saying necessarily.
Hate speech cannot be a capital offense.
No. I'm not even talking about hate speech. I'm talking about the concept of death penalty. The state inflicting the...
seldomly...
As you know, there are jurisdictions that have taken it off their books.
Yes, exactly. That's where I'm going.
Because it's not retributory at all.
So that's not what you're saying. That's not the area you're talking on. What you seem to be talking on is that if there is going to be hate speech, it can't be, if there's going to be the death penalty for any of these social crimes, it can't be for, it should be for something else. For example, you guys would be a lot more comfortable if they came up with a bill that, recommends death by hanging for a convicted, corrupt person.
Yes.
Then you have no problems with that.
And like you have said, the idea of death penalty at, punishable offense in most civilized countries have been taken off because
uncivilized, which one is uncivilized?
Well,
which country are you going to call uncivilized?
We're developing and developed nation
in the West.
If you take because But also let me also explain to you. You want to establish a commission. I need to make comments about that, about hate speech. Is it not another method of siphoning our resources, creating offices for people, creating undue recidivism, bureaucracy for people to continue to squander our resources? So we don't need a commission. Even if you are legislating on hate speech and whatever, you don't need, the law takes care of all of those ones. We have had a lot of agencies for corruption. We have had EFCC, we have CPC, we have, what are we really been able to help us? So it's not even...
Maybe it's a work in progress. It is a work in progress.
You know that in Britain, the unwritten constitution, really speaks and helps more than the written constitution. So conventions, practice, treaties, a lot of those ones take much more precedence in terms of, the societal development than even laws.
Okay.
We have had laws. How do you implement such laws?
All right. So two main planks. One, death penalty is recommended in this proposed bill by Senator Abdullahi, APC, Niger State. That's on the one hand. If your speech, if the said hate speech results in the death of others, on the one hand, there are, lesser categories where it might be 5 years or a fine of
10 million,
or
10 million,
or both, or 10 million, or both. And then there's the Independent National Commission for Hate Speech proposal. Okay, let's go on a break. We'll come back and we'll see the other side of our panel, which is you at home, what you think about this particular aspect. Stay with us, please. Okay, welcome back. We're looking at an interesting proposal, a bill, for, a hate speech bill, which if passed would result in death penalty for any person guilty of hate speech. If it results in the death of another, there are lesser categories of offenses that could be 5 years and 10 million. And then there's the setting up proposal, setting up of an Independent National Commission for Hate Speech. This is the way it is. Nobody, the whole, one of the things that you could say are behind the bill would be, we need a society that is harmonious, and we don't want anybody promoting division in our society. We're united. We want to remain united, and we should be working for that unity, not chipping away at it, which agreeably hate speech could do. But the question then is, do we go as far as the death penalty?
Obviously, still no. The way to promote unity is to follow the example of what Lagos has just done over the last 3 days.
What is that?
They've just finished the Kano Lagos Economic Summit. And what was all the summit about? Is to promote...
Okay, that's the opposite of hate speech. So that's excellent.
That is what cohesion.
Yes.
So rather than look at hate speech, what breeds hate speech? But if there are government policies that promote inter-state relations, that promote inter-ethnic relations, that promote inter-tribal relations. We are bounded together by trade, by commerce, by everything. If, for instance, the Lagos Kano summit, of which memorandum was signed that yesterday, it means that Lagos is going to invest in Kano. Kano is going to invest in Lagos. It means that what belongs to all of us will be protected by all of us.
Okay, I'm going to bring in Yakub.
Government must champion.
Yakub, thank you for calling in. Yakub.
Yeah,
thank you.
Sir.
Good morning.
Yeah, can you hear me clear, sir?
Very clearly.
Yeah, thank you very much. And then good morning to your guests in the studio.
Good morning.
I really love what your guests are saying this morning, especially Evans and the other gentleman.
Mr. Kalejai.
When Evans is talking earlier, I can see that Shiftori, you don't want him to land to where he wanted to land it to by saying that if Senate proposed death by hanging for anybody that said hate speech or whatever. So what are you going to tell us? People that cutting our money in terms of corruption and then they cash away all the money that made for especially road. Okay, let me give you a typical case because they have never differentiated to let us know what is hate speech. For example, I don't know, maybe you are traveling from Songo down to Ifo. Look at that road. The road was so bad. Now, assuming they now awarded that road to somebody in that Senate or the Alo Chamber, and then maybe it has a company that is construction company, and then they awarded the contract to him. And then he fails to do the road. And then I ply that road like other people ply the road as well. And I told people that we apply the road together that whenever we see this very gentleman that owns this company, we should see him. And then he's not telling us that one is hate speech. And then me that I said they should stop that very particular person that owns the company that they awarded the road though and then road to, and then he did the road. And then they are not saying that what I said is hate speech. So I should be died by hand, and then they should leave the person that is taking away the money to do the road. Those people that they are not serious. If they can say that the word of not serious is also hate speech, when they do something right, and then they don't want us to talk. What kind of a thing we have in this country? God will help us.
Thank you for calling in. Okay, Yakub adding his own to Mr. Ofeli's point that
the bill is
reactionary. It's a gag. It's an attempt to gag. To gag the public, to gag us.
Is the way to protect the rich.
To restrain people. I mean, the elites have a way of protecting themselves.
That's all.
They create a lot of bandwagon legislation.
They put fear into your mind. You cannot do this, you cannot do that, so they can get away with criminalities.
The Nigerian society cannot take that because,
no.
Except you want an infraction on fundamental rights, which is not going to go down well with a lot of us who will want to speak our minds. Like he said, the example he gave, the road, somebody has been awarded contract, you are not doing it. So nobody should talk about it because we are afraid of hate speech. We are scared, we may be labeled as if we may be arrested for making utterances.
Yeah.
That is wrong. That's why I said if you award a contract of a road and you do it, spend the money on the road, do it. Nobody will make utterances when he's saying the right thing.
I hear you, but if this were to ever become law, which is totally out, right now is in the speculative arena, but if this were to become law, the definition of hate speech is going to have to be so rigorous.
If it becomes law,
so rigorous
it will also
to define it. But let me bring in Wale. I beg your pardon. Let me bring in Wale from Ibadan, I believe. Good morning, Wale.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir. Please go ahead.
Good morning, the panelists.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, my contribution is this. This issue of death sentence, we really need to be very, very careful. It's a very sensitive issue. I don't think Nigeria is really ripe for that, for hate speech or any offense. I don't think. Because if you look at
for hate speech to become a death penalty offense.
Sorry?
You say Nigeria is not ripe for hate speech to become a death penalty offense.
Yes, and even some other criminal offenses. We need to check them properly before we tag them or we give a death penalty sentence for them. Because the political climate is tensed, you know, at times you see politicians having issues with one another. They can easily use this to really assassinate some politicians or even some future leaders. People who can even actually liberate us might die.
Well, assassination wouldn't be the word, but I understand you.
Frame up.
Yes.
Sorry?
Assassination wouldn't be the word, but I understand you. Probably
Yeah,
frame. To frame certain people.
Or set up.
Or if you want, set up certain people.
Set up. Good one. It can be a form of setup to set some politicians up. Then, you know, they can be eliminated. And probably this elimination might not be needed at that time. Probably let's look at Senator Shehu Sani, God forbid. If guys are a law like that, you know, some influences can gather up and do anything. You understand? I don't want to use that word again.
Okay, I understand. Thank you very much for calling in. But as I said, it's good that we're having this. That gentleman, Mr. Wale there, what he has said is that if it comes to a vote, it won't get my vote. Yes. And I think in here, you guys have said it won't get your vote either.
That's a public pause to it.
Yes.
And when the Senate call for public hearing, we should all go there. Because the problem we also have, when they call for public hearing, we don't go.
So we don't show them really what we're thinking.
Let's go there and say we do not like this. We won't take this. Okay? It has a way of influencing the outcome.
Okay. Mazi Okoroafo, in Arochukwu, good morning, sir.
Good morning, Sayori. Good morning, our guests in this studio. Sayori, honestly, Comrade Mazi Patrick Okoroafo, I say no to propose death sentence for hate speech. You see, we have a constitution in this country. You see, the essence of this proposal is to silence Nigerians, not to challenge our politicians or our leaders. We have freedom of speech, etc. Today, you will see a lecturer in the university or anywhere threatening a student that you will fail by court. At the end of the day, the child will fail the court. What will the child do? He will now be going to beg so that he will come back and write supplementary affairs. You see kidnappers, see armed robbers, see maladministration. The people to sit down every day and come out to eat, and that's what Mr. Yakubu said. You see today, you see people in China, you get money to supply drugs. You will go back behind and settle with the people and collect the money and put that. You will not supply drugs. And people are tired. People are supposed to collect that drugs and get it because somebody has eaten the money. And you see today now, salary for people you will not pay. You see that and be threatening them. Allowance for people you will not pay. You threaten them. And some of them will be down because they need that money to do what? To eat food and pay their school and pay their children's school. At the end of the day, you say, when somebody come and tell you, okay, what you did is wrong. You say it's hate speech. And you say, for that reason, we face it. Now, you see what is happening. I think we are aware that when Trump entered the office, he was having problem with CNN. He said he doesn't watch CNN because CNN is after anything about Trump, you see them scream. Well, that Trump comes to raise the issue of the death sentence for CNN staff and because if you're working in any place, but if you are not ready for people to challenge you or to criticize, forget it. I don't know, Nigeria will take our office, but we don't want people to challenge. There's no way. And if you are doing anything, even this job you are doing, somebody is not challenging you, you are not progressing. Because when you see challenges, you sit up and do what? And look at yourself, assess yourself, and come out with what you're supposed to do that the society needs. Thank you very much. Have a pleasant day for us to speak.
Thank you very much, Mazi.
It's very clear that what we're saying as Nigeria is to say that rather than have such a bill, you need a reversal of such a bill and look at bill that would disencourage, that would allay people's fears about hate speeches, things that would bring us together as a people, that will unite us.
And we have plenty of that. We have plenty of those laws.
That's where
all these things you are talking about, Lagos and Kano,
yes,
there are legal frameworks for all of
direction. The West is talking about the integration of the entire Western, Southwestern state. Looking at, doing railway connectivity,
yes,
whereby people can live far away in Ogun, in Osun, and work in Lagos. Those are things that promote unity.
Yeah, but
so
as Evans said,
yes,
these comments, when it comes to the public hearing part of this thing, Nigerians
Why do people
Nigerians
find
should just
it,
go
why do
there.
people find it difficult to
go there and voice their opinion.
Uncle
But
Yori,
it's part of
Uncle
what
Yori,
it's part of what
let
I'm
me
doing
explain
here.
to
It's part
you.
of what we're doing here.
You see, let me explain to you.
Madam Josephine, I'll be with you. Just let him land.
Very simply said, it takes you a lot to get from Lagos to Abuja. It takes you financial, muscle.
Oh,
to
okay.
move
So a lot
from
of
one
people
the-
might not be
So,
able to
no, no,
contribute.
To what you said about the rails.
Okay, let me come back to the
about
point.
the rail. So you do all
okay.
of these ones.
Madam
get there in
Josephine,
less than
good
an
morning.
hour.
Yes.
Thank you for holding
Good
on.
morning, Uncle Yori.
Good morning, ma'am.
to your guests.
Good morning.
Thank you.
I agree with your guests. They are really dealing with this issue. And this Senate, they are becoming something else. Gradually, we are sliding to dictatorship. We are really sliding to dictatorship.
But that is not to say hate speech isn't a very serious matter.
I know it's a serious matter, but there are provisions for that already in the law. That if there's a penalty for that, that is not the issue they are supposed to be proposing now. Okay. The issue on ground is more than what we are saying. They are not doing what they are supposed to do, and people are getting angry every day. If they do things that is right, nobody will say anything against them. Look at the economy. We are not good, and they are still receiving heavy wages. They are still receiving heavy allowance. If people say anything about it, they want to bring law that we favor them to silence us or whatever. This is not what is supposed to be in a democracy. Everybody has the right to speak their mind. They should do things right. They are supposed to propose bill that for corrupt practices, people that steal our commonwealth. They have not done that. They are bringing hate speech issue. They said this hate speech brought APC to power, and then they are the one proposing it. They should be careful. People have the right to question them. If they are not doing well, they should do the country well and let everybody live right. They should be an example. If they do it, we will follow as well as a citizen. They should not propose
Madam Josephine,
we favor them, sir.
Madam Josephine, what are your thoughts on the concept of the death penalty at all?
The death penalty, I know the death penalty, that is not what they are supposed to do. They should bring it down. This one is just too much. This one is just too much for them to say death penalty for hate speech.
Okay.
It's not what they are supposed to propose. There are other things to cop this hate speech.
Independent National Commission for Hate Speech, Inko?
Independent what?
Independent National Commission for Hate Speech.
That one is another way of another. I don't know. That one is out of it. They should not bring it. We don't even need it. There's a law that back it. There's a law that's already backing that hate speech.
All right.
They should promote it and do the right thing. Uncle Yori, we are not happy in this country. People are hungry. Look at what is happening in the first situation. They have not done anything about the PIB. They have not done anything about the constitution to what they call it, to reform it, to develop powers so that people can have sense of belonging. Look at what is causing hate speech. When there is injustice in the land, when there is impunity, how do you expect the other person to feel? This is not going well. They should do things right in that legislature. Propose bill that we favor the whole masses, not only for some set of people.
All right then.
Thank
you very much for calling in. So far, all of the commentary has been leaning towards the fact that, it's not impossible that this is very self-serving.
Yes.
That seems to be what I'm getting.
Yes. At a time when we are supposed to be discussing on how to rescue Dapchi girls, Chibok girls, we should rather have a law or a commission that will prevent our children from being kidnapped in their schools, in their boarding houses, and devolve resources to that effect, rather than telling us not to talk about the insecurity in the land and the lack of welfare for the people.
All right. Okay. Mr. Akinjide in Idore, good morning.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Good morning, sir.
And good morning to your guests over there.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, sir. How you doing, sir?
We did fine.
Sir, I just want to say that here in this country, why are the Senate discussing about death sentence for hate speech? So they are trying to tell me now that people that are going away with 625 million Naira and over, then we shouldn't say anything about it. I mean, the Senate should find something better doing.
No, Mr. Kinjide, sure you understand. That's not what this is about. It's about if your utterances result in the death of Nigerians, then that to the proposers of this bill is a serious enough affair. Not if you criticize people who are corrupt. No, that's not hate speech. That's not hate speech.
What I'm trying to say, is that people should have the right to say their mind in this country. Freedom of speech. We have this bill on ground, so we should be able to discuss about what is really going on in the country.
Okay.
Saying that hate speech. So, like someone said, someone is not doing a road, and I saw the road, and I'm flying that road, and I just say that, okay, what is this someone doing about this road, and it has not been doing it? That okay, if we see this person, we should be able to shout and curse this person. So that shows that is an increase. So they will now sentence me to death.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much. When Mr. Ofeli made that example, it was purposely simplistic to illustrate the point.
It was a
what is good?
You know, but you see, this whole point.
Justifying.
No. I wanted to come back to this whole area about what Mr. Kinjide said, that people have the right to freedom of speech. Now, we all know that there's no such thing as total freedom anywhere.
It's not absolute.
No.
It's not
And
absolute.
that is why you have laws on
It's
defamation.
not absolute.
That is why there are laws.
laws.
Where your freedom ends is where the freedom of other person
exactly.
begins.
But the point,
so there is no absolute freedom anywhere in the world. There is interdependency of relationship.
Yeah.
So your freedom must not infringe the other person's freedom.
Yeah.
So we're not saying that whether we have freedom of speech or not, that anybody can just go ahead, instigate people, or talk evil or unjustifiable statements
about a group of Nigerians.
Defend, so
not one person. I don't imagine.
In this panel,
we have to be careful here.
In this panel, people must get it right. Nobody has supported hate speech here.
Nobody is supporting hate speech anywhere, I don't believe.
So we believe that we must live together.
When you're able to define what hate speech is, I don't think you're going to find very many Nigerians who are going to be partaking of it. But Mr. George, good morning, sir. Thank you for calling in.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Thank you for calling in.
Uncle Yori, there was a time the Senate, this same Senate, moved a motion to replace the president, announcing to Nigerians that the president was sick and that the vice president was also out of the country, and then they voted to put Saraki as the president. Is that not a hate speech? So if this law is passed, we should put all of them on death row then. So, when you have a Senate that has become a comical theater, this is what you get. A lot of things are happening in the country that ought to be of concern to them, but they are not concerned about that. They are talking about hate speech. You don't speak hatred when there is no need for it. It doesn't just exist. There's no smoke without fire. If somebody says something negative about you, there must be an element of truth in it. Otherwise, it can't just happen.
But Mr. George, you will accept that there are those who can wholly manufacture a story against somebody.
Yes, but if it is wrong, if it is not true, the offended does not need to take any offense, because what is false doesn't hurt. What is false doesn't, if you say I'm a thief and I'm not a thief, it won't hurt me.
Yes, but you could action it in court.
Better.
Yes, we already have laws against defamation.
Yes.
Yeah.
So why is this? When they want to keep everybody short.
All right.
So that when they steal our money, we will not talk again. When they misbehave, that for the past 6 months, which reasonable bill have they passed?
Okay.
And then you ask the question whether death as a penalty is necessary. I do not support death.
Okay.
As a punishment for any offense.
All right then.
Because you need to be alive to suffer the consequences of your offenses. If you kill 10 people, for example, on Kuyori, and then you are to be punished, they just put a gun and shoot the person down. Would they kill him 10 times? He can only be killed because he killed 10 people, but you can't kill him 10 times. If you put him on a life jail and he suffers for the rest of his life, maybe he will live there for 30, 40 years before he dies there.
All right,
the
then.
trauma he will go through will more than pay for the killing he did.
Sure.
That's my view.
Thank you very much for it. Thank you very much for calling in. As far as this program being something of a dipstick test for this notion, we have it. People are not unduly impressed. But that is not to say we've heard everybody's opinion. It is at that public hearing that we have a chance to let the Senate know what we feel about their priorities, I imagine, because that has come up here. Mr. George has just finished with that same point about the priorities the Senate is putting before itself.
Because we already have it established in our laws that whenever you make utterances or you write anything that is capable of reducing
but the
person's reputation
their priority is
in
not
the eyes of the right-thinking members of society is defamation.
Yes.
So when you write things or you speak things that damages or reduces or that disparages a person's reputation, reduce him in the right thinking, then it's actionable.
Yes, exactly. And the priorities thing that I was talking about, people have said, you have said here that they didn't recommend death for corruption, for example.
Yes.
Now this is the one they are doing. So in terms of priorities, why is Senate concerning itself would appear to be what our viewers have called in to ask. With these ones, how are they prioritizing that which is important to us?
If I were the sponsor of this bill, and I'm privileged to listen to this, and if I'm not privileged and my attention is drawn to it, I'll go to YouTube and see what did they say and listen to it. I will withdraw that bill.
Okay, then.
So I don't even see why the Senate should allow this to go into public clearing. The first, it should die in the first and finally maybe
thrown out.
Yeah, but
the second reading be thrown out.
Don't forget
so
that
it shouldn't. What we're saying is that
the fact that it came out of there is why we're even talking about it. But it doesn't mean it's going to fly.
No, it doesn't mean it's going to fly because it could die at the second reading and then they can throw it out and feel that they should feel the pulse of Nigerians. And if they feel the pulse of Nigerians rightly and in the way it is and is spoken by majority of the people, then they must know that that bill is unpopular. It shouldn't even go to public hearing. But if it goes
let's
to public
leave it there.
hearing,
thank you very much. Mr. Adeboye Kalejaye, politician and social commentator. Actually, no. I'd better have him as a political analyst, political affairs analyst. And Mr. Evans Ufeli, legal practitioner and public affairs analyst. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for sharing your perspectives and your thoughts on this whole matter. And also thank you at home as well for contributing to the program. I always think of it as the second half of our panel is out there at home. Okay, so that's the program. Join us tomorrow, please. No, tomorrow in this case will be Monday. We don't do weekends, so it's actually Monday. So join us on Monday, 10:30 for a fresh edition of the program. I am Yori Folarin. Have a great weekend.